Okay, all you have to do is just click appointment.
Okay, we're going?
Yeah.
Over there, it has to be, they're appointed for building affairs.
Oh, we're not talking to Tim, she's on.
Okay.
So
So everybody just about ready?
Just said lost.
Yeah.
Did you test, Aaron?
Sorry?
Do you want to do a test or is it ready?
No, you're good. You're good to go.
okay, I'm gonna type just a little lower.
How's that?
Right there, it's good. Lock it in. Rolling.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm holding this press conference to update the media on the ongoing investigations and code of conduct investigations pertaining to Constable Jeff Mantler. I was committed from the beginning to keep you informed in a timely manner, and I'm here today to bring you up to date. I received correspondence earlier this week from the Criminal Justice Office advising me that the charge of assault against Constable Jeff Mantler relating to the complaint made by Mr. Jeremy Packer was not approved by Crown Counsel. The Code of Conduct investigations on all 3 incidents involving Constable Mantler are now complete, and I have forwarded my findings to the Commanding Officer E Division, recommending formal discipline in relation to the 3 allegations of disgraceful conduct. You may wonder why I would find the actions of Constable Mantler to be disgraceful in the Jeremy Packer incident when the Crown Counsel has not approved charges. The RCMP Code of Conduct and the Criminal Code of Canada have 2 very different standards when it comes to finding an outcome. The Criminal Code is based on the premise of reasonable doubt, whereas the Code of Conduct is based on the balance of probabilities, meaning after reviewing all the facts, I believe Constable Mantler was at least 51% at fault in this particular incident. We do not have control over what happens on the criminal side, but there is a different and a separate process for us internally to hold our employees accountable when they fall short of meeting our service delivery standards. RCMP members are subject to the same laws as all Canadian citizens. On and off-duty members are also governed by the RCMP Code of Conduct. Matters of employee conduct are taken very seriously. It is important to note that an RCMP member is entitled to a fair and due process throughout the Code of Conduct investigation and any ensuing disciplinary process. Should the officer or member in command of the detachment conclude that the allegation is substantiated, the officer or member will then decide what type of discipline is appropriate. Depending on the seriousness of the contravention, disciplinary actions can be informal or formal, and sanctions can vary in scope. In this particular case, Constable Mantler will be facing an adjudication board to decide on the formal discipline of all 3 Code of Conducts against him. For now, he remains suspended. Last month, our commanding officer did indicate at a conference he held here in Kelowna that he has forwarded a recommendation to stop Constable Mantler's pay and allowances. That recommendation was made to the national headquarters, and a decision has yet to be made. I want to reiterate the statement that our commanding officer made last month in that the behavior that Constable Mantler is being accused of here has fallen short of the expectations that I have of our members and that the public have of us. We set a goal of delivering the highest standards of policing service, and these types of accusations do not reflect the values of our organization. I'll open it up for questions from there.
Bill, did the police investigation, what was the recommendation that was passed on to Crown?
The recommendation?
On the investigation that resulted in the criminal domestic branch deciding to not lay criminal charges, you forwarded Packer the information to them with a recommendation?
We don't make recommendations from our office here.
No?
In particular, in regards to police officers, we send over the package and they make the decision. We don't make recommendations.
But you do on other matters, in other cases, no?
No, we don't make recommendations. We supply the evidence. In this province, the Crown makes those decisions.
But I thought that, sorry, Abbotsford Police.
Abbotsford Police was recommending charges.
Yes, yes, they did, but that is not our practice here.
Okay.
But that,
Now,
sure, I've heard police
now,
recommending charges of this and that.
we send over reports to Crown all the time. They make the decision whether or not a charge goes ahead. Based on, when we send it over, do we believe there's reasonable probable grounds to believe that there is a case there? Yes, but we don't make the decision because we don't try to determine credibility for a particular case.
But, yeah, still, I think at times you do recommend charges, no?
The
You can
report-
call it what you want.
The term might be used loosely, that we're forwarding a report to Crown Council. Obviously, there's some evidence there.
When it comes to police officers, it's your Joe and Jill Friday. Just gather the facts, send them to the Crown to make an unbiased decision.
Were you surprised by the decision not to proceed with charges in this case?
I'm not going to make a comment. It wasn't up to me to make that decision. The Crown has made a decision. I understand they held a press conference or sent out a media release earlier this morning.
So when you say your code of conduct investigation is complete and you're recommending formal discipline, what
Correct.
is that?
We have a handout for you explaining formal discipline. Formal discipline is a member would appear before an adjudication board comprised of 3 members, 1 legally trained member. If formal discipline was administered, really there's 3 outcomes. Dismissal from the organization, he could be demoted, or he could lose up to 10 days pay per count. Those are the sanctions that are available to an adjudication board.
3 counts here as far as...
Correct.
Can a member be dismissed before conviction in a criminal court?
No.
So you have to be convicted first.
2 different processes. Usually the code of conduct follows the criminal process.
So this adjudication board probably won't do its work until after the other 2 charges have worked their way through the criminal justice system?
That's the normal practice. 2 different processes, both federal statutes, but the normal process is that it would come after the criminal process.
So is it plausible that he will continue to receive pay unless and until he is convicted?
That is a determination being made in headquarters. As the commanding officer stated, he expected an answer in the next 3 weeks. Depending on that decision, he could have his pay up until he appears before that adjudication board, but the recommendation has gone forward for him to lose his pay.
So he could lose his pay too, he doesn't have to.
That's right.
And the adjudication board can come back with the findings of a formal discipline without the necessity of a criminal conviction.
Correct. 2 different processes, 2 different standards.
Yeah, right, so you don't need a criminal conviction to get fired from the force.
And that is why I said that you may find it difficult because the criminal charging can go ahead, but because it's a different standard, I support it and recommend it that it go through formal discipline on the 3rd count of Jeremy Packer.
Can you elaborate on the adjudication board?
We've got a handout for you there,
Handouts.
and I think that explains it probably
How
best.
many members and all that?
Yep, it's all in there.
Ah, so, thank you. Say, Bill, one of the complaints Mr. Packer leveled against Constable Mantler was the fact that he had his gun drawn, and another officer did, and they were pointing the gun at him. And was this an Alpha Delta call? Was this an armed and dangerous?
I am not going to speak to any of the specifics of any of the cases here today. I've made the recommendations. There is a process. We'll follow the process and let it go through. I think it would be unfair for me to discuss any of the specifics of any of the cases here today.
But even about the use of this gun, like I'm curious too, because...
I'm not going there because I don't want to taint that investigation when it comes to process.
Which investigation is that?
Either the Packer or the Batty or the Tavares case.
How will commenting on the use of a firearm taint that?
I'm not going there.
Would the adjudication board assemble in Kelowna?
Yes.
And is that a public process?
Yes, it is. It's open to the public.
And your recommendation that he face an adjudication board, is that automatic, that he will go to the
No.
adjudication board, or does that have to be decided on?
Now, that's my recommendation to the commanding officer. He has the authority to overturn my recommendation, and then, but he has the final say on whether or not it goes to adjudication board.
And has that been discussed at this point?
No. I just sent forward the materials yesterday.
Where would the hearing take place? Courthouse?
And sometimes at a hotel there, but it would, because the offenses occurred in Kelowna, it would take place somewhere in Kelowna.
And who makes the decision on the adjudication board? If it's-
Adjudications branch out of Ottawa.
So, and you sent a report to them, a recommendation?
No, the CEO, if he supports what I'm saying, he would then send it to Ottawa.
Oh, you're talking about Horahan?
Our-hand.
Horahan?
Deputy
So
Commissioner
you
Hour-
sent a recommendation to Horahan, is that?
Our-hand, yes.
So he has to approve it and then send it up to
Correct.
Ottawa, which again has to approve it.
No,
No?
it's his decision.
All right.
I personally, I am an adjudicator. I sit on boards for other members outside of this jurisdiction.
So those who would make up this adjudication board would not be from Thorold?
Yes, they would not be. And one member of the board would be legally trained.
Couple more questions?
So, anyways.
We're good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. It does.
Thanks for handing that out, Bill. You were going to do a half hour with them, I know.